Welcome, everybody, to the Tons of Productions podcast on this Monday, June 17th, 2019. A little while back, I went to a showing at the Rio Theater of a documentary called Fuck You All, the Ewe Boll Story. And I was interested in seeing it because I had met Ewe years ago on a studio lot that I had worked on. And then I come to find out it was produced by someone I had worked with way back in the past, Kayvon Saremi, and it was directed by Shaul, who I'd met somewhere along the way too. I was really impressed that people I knew made this documentary that was so great. It's funny, it's really, really good. So if you get a chance, for sure see it. And I know you'll enjoy this talk because I did. This is one of my favorite podcasts for sure that I've done so far. So without any further delay, here is Kayvon Saremi and Shaul. You are listening to the Tons of Productions podcast. We're going to do projects today. So I'll just start with, I guess, one of you. I don't know, Sean. Where did you start? Or were you born?
I'm from Edmonton originally.
Okay.
And I moved out here basically after high school. So I've been out here 18 years this year.
Oh wow,
so,
long time.
Yeah, almost at a point where I've been here as long as I've been at home. And came out and went to film school, and then
What film school?
VFS.
Okay, VFS.
Then I dropped out, got my tuition refunded.
Really? Why?
And, well, I was editing on like actual Steinbecks, like cutting film and taping it, like old school style.
Right.
And my teacher was like, everything that we're using is going to be obsolete in like 5 years. So I was like, can I have all my money back? Because I don't want to work in a museum. And they put up a bit of a fight. And then I told the administrator exactly what the teacher had said. And they were just like, oh, really? And then basically cut me a check. I bought a camera and a bunch of books and then made my first film. And then eventually got into commercials and set deck and have done locations and
like
stuff.
that. Yeah, your regular job is in the professional film industry, and then you do your own independence on the side.
Exactly. Yeah.
So docs are your specialty?
Yeah, we just finished, Kayvon and I just finished my fifth documentary.
Oh, wow. That's your fifth one. Wow.
Co-production.
I didn't have very much time because this was the last minute interview as well to research you guys online very much. So with you, Kayvon, where did you start? Where were you born?
I was born in Toronto. I moved here.
You were born in Toronto?
Yeah, Ontario born. Transplant like most of us here in Vancouver.
Yeah, I'm from London, Ontario.
Yeah, exactly. I went to school at Fanshawe, so I was,
nice.
I've spent my time in London for sure. Great city. I love that place.
Yeah.
But I kind of grew up in Mississauga, Oakville, went to school in Hamilton, moved my way out to London for that, and then afterwards I ended up moving out here and got right into the film business.
So you never went to film school?
No, I went to two film schools. I went to
back in Ontario. Oh, those were film schools you went to. Oh,
Hamilton,
I see. I didn't know what to.
In Hamilton, I went to television broadcasting and studied advanced filmmaking was the name of the course in London.
Okay.
Which is a pretty basic intro if you ask me.
Yeah.
But it laid the foundation for what most of the crap I know today, so.
Nice.
Yeah.
Cool. Awesome. And then, so when you came out here, you started working in, was it commercials or was it television or did you?
My first show was a feature film, Planet of the Apes, War of the Planet of the Apes, or Rise of the Planet of the Apes. That's the one.
Which is a killer first show.
It's a great first show. As soon as I heard, hey, do you want to come work on this amazing movie? I'm like, yeah, I do want to come and do that. I was working at Future Shop at the time, in the tech department, fixing computers, and obviously that was my dream. I wanted to work on set, and so I went right for it and never looked back.
Nice.
Yeah.
Oh, sweet. So, how did I'll ask you, Sean. How did the idea for this documentary come about with the "Fuck You" the Ewe Boll story? Ewe Boll.
Well, going into it, I knew kind of the mythology behind Ewe Boll and knew his reputation, and was super fascinated by that. Excuse me. This being my 5th film, like I kind of have done other documentaries on people that are a bit on the fringes of the entertainment industry. Like I did one on the singer of a punk band who was like addicted to drugs. I did one on a silent filmmaker that's kind of been forgotten. So it aligned with like the kind of stories I was already telling.
Right.
And he seemed like such an interesting and hilarious guy. Like I knew it was either going to be, I was going to pitch it to him and he was going to like flip out and be like, absolutely not. Or if he got on board, I knew it was going to be like an entertaining ride for sure. Cause he's anything, he could read a menu and it'd be funny. Like everything about him is hilarious. So, yeah, it kind of made sense to do it.
Yeah, well, when I heard the Q&A on the last time you had it at the Rio, showed it at the Rio, you were talking that you had done films with Uwe.
Yeah, I worked...
or just one film?
I worked as a crew member on Assault on Wall Street, which was like, I think 2000... I say a different date every time I tell this story, but I think it was 2011 maybe.
So a while ago anyway, yeah.
Yeah, it was quite a while ago, and didn't really have any interaction with him or anything, but just saw him working, and like, even from working on that show, like I had, a handful of hilarious Uwe stories. So any like interaction I had near him was funny, and I thought it would just be like another like funny film story I would have years later. And then a TV show that I was working on was shooting in his restaurant here in Vancouver.
Cool.
And it was right when I was like looking for a new subject. I had just finished my last film before that, and I was like kind of kicking around the idea and like wondering like, is there enough story there? And then the third day that we were shooting there, this Vanity Fair article came out on Uwe's retirement. And just reading the article, I was like, oh, there's a ton of meat in this story for sure.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I thought he was really funny. I met him a long time ago, and I got stories about him because I worked at Bridge Studios. So I know Sean Williamson, and I know those guys when I worked there. He did a couple movies actually. And have you ever worked with him, or do you know him at all?
I've never actually worked with Uwe. I only learned about Uwe through Sean.
Okay.
And just, the general discovery of this guy and like seeing the type of person that he is and the type of movies that he's making, it was just such an interesting subject. I was immediately down and did my research on him, watched his movies, and like he lives up to his name, that's for sure.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, it was an easy decision for me for sure. It was
nice.
Such an interesting topic.
Well, my story about him was, which is really hilarious, was when he first came on the lot, he came with dogs. He usually has dogs with him, right? That's his thing. So he had, I think, 3 dogs, and he went up to the Bright Lights offices, and he's in there, whatever, and he was really like cordial and nice to everyone around him, and then he'd turn around and scream at the dogs in German. And they'd look at him in this coward way or whatever. And he's like, oh, and he'd be like, so anyway, what are we doing? And he's all nice to Sean. So he goes in the office with Sean, and when he's not around, the dogs start running around and pulling stuff out of the recycling, and they don't understand English. Everyone's like, hey, they're running up to the dogs and talking in English. The dogs are, maybe they know English. I don't know, but it's hilarious. And then he comes out again with Sean, and they're going for lunch. And he's like, oh, la, la, and he yells at the dogs, and they just kind of look up at him, and then he leaves them there in the office and goes to lunch. So I get a call from the Bright Lights front desk saying there was a mess, and they want one of us maintenance guys to go up and help clean this kind of thing up because the dogs made this huge mess. It was so funny to me, dude. I laughed so hard because that's the first time I've ever seen anything like that.
There was a story about him having his dogs on set in, I think it was like In the Name of the King 2 or 3 or something, somewhere he was shooting in Europe. And his dogs, like they were like a medieval story, and his dogs kept running into shot with their collars on, and he would just shoot it anyway and leave it in there. And I think if you look at, I can't remember what movie it is, but I think if you look at the movie, there's shots of a dog with a collar on it, like running around in this like medieval village.
A nylon, like something from modern day. That's so funny.
Like he's such a dog lover that he would just be like,
oh yeah,
the dog's in the movie. It's now the dog's movie.
Yeah.
Even like during the interviews that we were shooting with him, his dogs were present in the room at all times.
Oh yeah.
I was recording sound, and the dog would constantly come up and he'd be sniffing my crotch underneath my soundboard, and I'm like trying to shove him away while I'm mixing everything that's going on. It was very distracting. But
No.
they're great dogs. They're super friendly. and
It's
I do
awesome
love 'em.
the to be able to experience that with him. I'm sure to be around that guy and do whatever because he's an eccentric fellow. But I've never had a problem with him. Always super nice, always direct, like very blunt and direct, and doesn't say, "Hey." He'll say straight out, "That idea is stupid and fucked," to you, instead of, because I've worked in film. And there's so many attitudes, and there's so many egos, and you got to pretend that it's a good idea, even though you know it's stupid, like Uwe would say, right?
There's a story from one of his producers in the documentary where he says basically exactly that. Like, you never wonder what Uwe's thinking because he's already like shouted it at you. And that is so rare in the film industry because everyone is...
yeah.
They're always
Sensitive.
worried about the next job and like, am I going to offend this person? And what's the ripple effect going to be of telling off this person? Uwe doesn't care about any of that.
Right. It's, even that was so funny in the movie too. The whole thing about going down to LA and trying to pitch the deals and always trying to. And Sean Williamson's whole thing, it was hilarious. Like, I laughed out loud during this documentary, and I rarely am so entertained by something. But I knew Uwe from before, so I'm just excited to see it.
It definitely has some like. We should mention the title of the film. It's called "Fuck You All," the Uwe
Yeah.
Boll story. It's got some real like funny moments in it for sure. Which was like intentional. I mean, it's hard to not have funny parts in it, but then it also, I feel like it flips back and forth, like some pretty serious tone as well. And
Yes.
we tried to be like very balanced about it.
Right. And show that his attitude about film and about perception about people in the film industry can hinder or help him in either way. And like you said, producers, director.
And it's also very accurate. Like he's never saying these things that aren't true. It's always just bluntly honest. But and like no one else does it because it hurts their career. But he's right like 95% of the time.
Well, and he's in control of the money too. So he's got a real extra hand there where he actually doesn't give a shit who says what to him. He's basically in control the whole time.
Yes, that's what the other thing I really admired, because I've done indies before, and I know when I paid, I'm in full control of what happens, what gets cut. I do the editing, I do everything, and because I'm paying for it. But if you get funded by someone, then you're at the mercy of them. They're like, no, I don't want that guy to have facial hair or whatever it is, whatever the problem they have, you have to abide by because they're paying for it.
Exactly.
But
They are
Uwe
God.
is paying for it, so he doesn't give a shit.
No.
No, we're moving on. I don't care. I'm muscling through here. Like,
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, he's definitely more of a producer than a director in some's eyes. He just really takes the reins on that.
did you guys film the whole thing here in Vancouver?
It was shot around. We went to Washington. Sean went to LA. Interviewed a few people down there, like Clint Howard.
Oh
Lindsay
yeah.
Loster.
I guess you'd have to go and.
Yeah, I think we did two LA interviews.
Okay.
Washington, tons in Vancouver, and Vegas. We went to Vegas to interview the founder of the Razzies.
Yeah. The founder of the Razzies. Oh, wow. This is another aspect of American film world that is, I don't know. I'm not concerned about what's good or bad in that sense. Like, if something's really bad, I just don't watch it. I don't really care. I'm not going to make a big deal about it. But in the States, it seems like such a big world. Maybe I'm ignorant, but it seems like such a big world that these things just pop up where the list of the worst movies and directors and whatnot come around like it's entertainment or something. And to me, it's strange, but...
And it's funny how, like, during the course of this movie and meeting the guy from the Razzies, seeing how negative the impact of that can be from just some guy at a desk or something typing up a review or something can be so damaging for years to come about a director or producer like Uwe. And I'm not defending all his movies as masterpieces, but he was labeled early on as the world's worst director through a lot through the Razzies, and it just like completely destroyed his career. He could never bounce back from it, even like 20 years later now, since those movies that were getting those reviews. He just can never bounce back from it. And there's a part in the documentary about it, but the seeing the Razzies guy and meeting him, we kind of found out like this guy's he's not a filmmaker. He doesn't, he can review films, but he is not making them himself. So is his opinion worth what it should be?
No, it's not to me. It's one of those, you're not doing it yourself, then who cares what you think?
Exactly. Yeah. If like Steven Spielberg gave you a bad review and you're a director, you should take a note on that.
Right.
But if it's just some dude who lives in Vegas who happened to be the first guy to get the website up and running, I mean,
right.
What does that say?
Yeah. I know exactly what you're talking about in the sense of stuff I've done, or a podcast. People just give me advice about podcast, and you're like, do you do a podcast? You know what you're talking about? Oh, exactly. You don't. This is just your opinion. Oh, well, thanks. I'll write that down. What's your name again? What the fuck do I care?
Yeah. Pretty much. You just got to keep working towards what you want to do and like, fuck everyone else's opinion, man. That's the point. He even says it in the documentary. Just try and do shit as long as you possibly can and just don't listen to anybody else. Just do it.
It's my philosophy is the world has entertainers and the entertained. And a lot of the entertained want to be entertainers. They want to do it. Because they love celebrities. They think, oh, this is the life. They're so rich. They have so much money, whatever. But when they've realized how much work's involved, they don't want to do it. So now they want celebrity for nothing. I'm going to say that movie sucks. And hopefully a lot of people pay attention to me, even though I've never made a movie and never dealt with budgets. And
I mean, I would never go to a ballet and then write a scathing review of the ballet knowing nothing about the ballet or having never done it or tried it or know anyone that's doing it. I mean, it just seems so crazy, but in music and film, that's completely acceptable to have someone trash your album that you've been spending like 10 years on, and it's just some guy who can't even play anything.
Or sports. That's the other thing. I see that guy's a bum. That guy's a bum. He doesn't, and like, this guy works out every day, all day.
The only sports commentators that are worth their salt are the people that have done it before because they have something to draw from, right?
Right, exactly. And that's what they do in basketball quite a few times. And I guess a lot of sports, they start doing that.
Yeah, if Shaq's giving you tips on your layup, it's fucking Shaq, you should listen. Yeah. But if it's just some like 80-year-old white dude who's never played basketball, then fuck that guy.
Yeah, who cares? Who cares? That's so funny. So you guys just got into Germany? Is that what you're I saw a thing on
Yeah, we start our
online?
Theatrical run, we hope, but we booked our first German date. It's not part of a festival or anything, just a theatrical run. And that's in Munster, Germany. I'm not sure how you pronounce it. Munster.
And you guys are going there for that?
No, we'll just let the film do a run there. I go to Australia in July for the Melbourne International Documentary Festival, which actually hasn't been announced, so I guess this is the first announcement.
Nice.
And the film goes to Holland, and
we got it in Derby, UK. Actually, that might have been a couple days ago.
That was
Derby, UK.
2 days ago, exactly. Yeah, so it's making its rounds for sure. We had it in Spain recently.
Nice.
Which is great at KutraCon.
And then it's kind of making its crawl across Canada right now, like heading from the west east. We did like Calgary, 2 dates in Vancouver, 1 in Edmonton, Saskatoon, and then hopefully continue to book east. And then we look at some sort of wider release, which is in the hands of our distributor, not us.
So, I know how that works or whatever. Yeah. And so promotion I find very hard too. When you promote your own kind of stuff, because I've only ever done short films. I've never done a full doc or whatever. But still, you go to these film festivals, you have all this stuff, and you have the same question and answer period and all that. And I found it very strange. Even though I've done stand-up and I have no problem talking in front of people, just to go around and say, oh, pay attention to my movie. I'm the best. It's hard for me to do. I'm sure. And all of us, everyone I talk to, creators, they struggle with that.
I have like crippling stage fright.
Oh, like, really?
Definitely over the past like 10 years, it's maybe gotten worse. But, like, it's terrible. So doing that exact like spotlight on you Q&A on a stage is like my fucking worst nightmare. But also another not fun part of making a documentary is going around to the festivals and rubbing elbows with a bunch of people. Like, it sounds fun to go to those parties, but more often than not, they're pretty fucking boring.
Right.
But it's something that you just have to do. It's part of the game.
Yeah.
Yeah, the networking of making film is...
Oh yeah, very difficult. Very
It's a
difficult
job.
indeed.
That's the other thing, that these people that are entertained, the entertain people who want to be celebrities, they don't realize how much goes into that. Like, was it Lady Gaga or someone was getting crap by a critic for repeating the same thing on interview after interview, saying whatever movie they just made, they were going on about the same thing every time. But they don't realize they're doing these press things and junkets, and they're talking to these people.
Yeah, every day.
Yeah,
Like
what do you
sometimes
say?
multiple
How
times a day. You
many
have it,
ways?
Like, pre-programmed. You know what you're gonna say. That's
I would say that's the fault of the person asking the question, because if you're asking the same question that has been asked of you in 200 other interviews for that film, then, you know, you expect a stock answer if you're going to ask a stock question.
Right. But there's also the different, like, what I'm trying to do is get all the people that are independent people starting out in film and trying to promote their stuff, and people that are behind the camera, not the actors, because I know so many people that are hardworking, dynamic people that throw down every time, to the point of, I will sacrifice sleep to make sure this product is done correctly. And that impresses me, but they don't get the recognition in life that you'd think. Like, Jesus, these people are the hardest working people you know or mate.
Even like the people that get more exposure, like the people in front of the camera, or like, you know, famous directors. Even in this sort of format, like a podcast sort of format, it's way better than that press junket where it's like foreign press and they're just asking all these stock questions. Because in a podcast you can like have an actual conversation, and, you know, over the course of 45 minutes or something, you can actually like get deeper than, like, you know, the stock questions.
Exactly. What's your influences? Where do you? Or I'm sure bands do that too.
Yeah. What's your favorite movie? And
Yeah, exactly. Well, I love a podcast. When I started listening to a few, and now it seems to be really like everyone and their brother has a podcast going, right? But since I couldn't work and on set anymore, this is something that I can enjoy, and I have enough contacts in my phone right now to do a couple of years of guests, I'm sure.
Yeah, and it's always interesting to somebody. Like, there's always like an audience. Might not be the biggest audience, but, you know, every sort of interesting conversation, there's going to be someone out there that is going to tune in and listen to it.
Oh yeah, and that's the other thing is the world of a family within Vancouver of film people. Like, I work with someone really tight for a year, and then don't see him for 5 years and never even talk to him or whatever. And then we go on another show, and I work 6 months with him, really close again, and it's like we just picked up where we left off. It's like a family.
Yeah, it's a giant industry here, but a pretty small community. Like, in each department, you kind of, you know, let's say you're in greens or something. Someone can be like, oh, my friend's in greens. Do you know this guy? And like, more often than not, you kind of do. It's a pretty small world, even though it's like, I don't know how many people it employs, like 100,000 people out here.
Yeah, and like every single person you meet in Vancouver in the industry too, you end up generally becoming friends with them, and you see them on the streets because it is so small. You literally run into them in the middle of the city, and you pick up where you left off. Like, there's just a nice general love that goes around with everybody, and it's a fantastic vibe for sure. I love this place.
And you generally have similar stories and similar outlooks on things.
Oh yeah, because you do similar work. Because also it is a world unto its own. Totally. I've had everyone I've talked to and I've experienced is there's the film world and there's the regular world, the real world. That's what they call it. And when you're in the film world, you're in this perpetual motion of fighting sleep and trying to create your energy well enough that you can keep working to the point that it's unreal. Some of these people I see that 24/7,
totally,
for years on end.
Yeah, and like, you meet people who, I mean, some of the shows we work on, we might not be like super proud of. There's a lot of like dog shit that gets made here too. But you run into other people that are also on a dog shit show, and then you run into them and go like, oh, what are you working on? Oh, no way, I heard it's terrible. What are you working on? I heard that's dog shit too. And then like, you can bond over that as well. Like, it's not necessarily what's coming out. It's like some of the best shows I've ever worked on might be the worst product, but like, I just love working with the crew, and like, you get along with people, and you could care less what what the final output is. As long as you do your job well, you don't care if it does well in Rotten Tomatoes or not, because you're already on the next job and it's not your baby. It's a job.
Exactly. And yeah, if you filmed a TV show and you did the episode, it's not coming out for 6 months and you don't care because you're either on another show or way down the line.
Yeah.
But
if you're the director or the star or the producer, that's when you got some real skin in the game. But, if you work in set deck on a show, you might not.
you're trying to get your
care as
hours.
Much. Yeah,
You're
trying to get your hours. Exactly.
At all,
Yeah.
And once you get those hours, then you try for the show call on the big shows. And then I know people that worked on shows. When I first started, the first show call I got was Stargate Atlantis. These guys went from SG-1 to Stargate Atlantis to Stargate Universe. And some of the people on that crew worked on it for 16 years on the same show.
The craziest thing to think about is if you count out the sleep hours, they've definitely spent more time in 16 years in a Stargate universe than the actual real universe that we're living in.
Yeah.
So crazy to think.
On the bridge lot, doing the same thing year after year after year.
Yeah, like after a few years of that, your weekends are going to start being like, well, this isn't the Stargate world that I'm used to. Yeah, it really starts to affect you the longer you work on a show.
And especially, I found on big shows that I worked on, like Supernatural or Arrow or a lot of the CW shows, I don't watch them. And not that they're not good shows. I just, whatever. When you work in film, you don't really watch what you work on unless it's amazing. I love Bates Motel. And I was fortunate to PA on that once. But I loved it because it was really good storyline. But there's a lot of other ones I worked on. I watched maybe 2 episodes and they have, seasons of stuff.
I really don't have stock based on a show or based on me working on a show. Like I've watched stuff that I've worked on and loved it. And I've not watched stuff that I've worked on knowing I'm not going to like it. Like I just treat it like any other kind of film, whether I worked on it or not. Either like it or I don't. Doesn't matter whether I worked on it.
Kayvon, what's the coolest movie you've ever worked on? Was that the first the Planet of the Apes one, or?
Well, I mean the scale, yeah, that was definitely.
That's what I
the
mean by
biggest
cool.
scale
I mean
I've ever worked on, but coolest for sure was Deadpool for me.
Oh
that was
yeah,
a
Deadpool.
real fun experience working on that movie. Like it was pretty nuts.
And what'd you do?
Well, I was a PA at the time.
Locations, okay.
So my station was basically at the end of the bridge in Main Street. Kind of just in that general cracky area,
Yeah.
Getting confronted by people trying to go up on the bridge to check out what was going on. I had to stop them. And that was my reality for like 2 weeks. But
wow.
I got to go up in there. I got to go check out what was going on. And every time I was up in there, it was like actually insane to me watching this shit going down, people on motorcycles driving around with Uzis on a shutdown highway that I'm currently walking on and just like checking out. It was like Disneyland. It was so
it's
nuts.
wild to see that. Yeah. On that grandest scale, on that much money. Because when you film your own indie, you walk up and you're like, that's a lot of money.
I hope the cops don't roll up on us right now.
I was going to say, yeah, it's more like we definitely don't have permits. So like,
that's true too. Yeah. Wow. And that was the first Deadpool?
Yeah, the first Deadpool.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. That big.
Nice. Yeah, no doubt. I worked on a couple big ones. What about you? Did you ever work on big episodes or big shows, big movies?
I'm trying to think. Like, I've worked on like some stuff that I've watched and really liked, but I think probably the biggest like money fire productions I've been on were in commercials, like doing like car commercials and stuff.
Nice.
They spend so much money. It's insane.
It's
and
ridiculous.
The production's so big and fast. It's like they shoot for 5 days and they spent like, $1.5 million. Like it's so crazy.
Oh yeah. It's
so
insanity.
like biggest like productions I've seen probably in commercials.
Nice.
I haven't worked on like a real blockbuster like Star Trek or.
Oh yeah, but still, it's
Planet
a
of
big,
the Apes
huge show. I mean, like the big production to go through that.
And I've worked on like some like big Disney shows and CW shows as well, but to just like really be staggered by the amount of money being spent, commercials for sure.
Nice. Yeah, I when I was working at Parallel and delivering, it was Think Pink was the company, and they would do commercials a lot of times, and they'd be there for 2 days, 3 days. That's it. I'd drop off the stuff and pick it up within a weekend almost. Drop it Friday, pick it up Sunday. And the money they would spend, I talked to the ALM. I knew them really well, and it was just unbelievable. He was just like, oh my God, like, you're going again? For what reason? What are you doing? It's like, well, we got to go through this budget kind of thing. Okay.
Yeah, I've never seen any sort of budget restraint on a commercial. Even like smaller commercials, they're never like, we can't afford to do that. It's always like a time thing if they can't do it. It's
Right.
never like, we don't have enough money. Like you work on like a Kraft dinner commercial. They like, money is no object to get exactly
Coca-Cola,
what they want,
Pepsi,
you know?
all these ones with...
Yeah, I did a Coke commercial before, and it was like, well over $1 million for like a high school prom scene, and
for
like
30 seconds of
for 30
screen
seconds.
time,
Yeah,
like,
I did a BC milk commercial that was like a 10-day shoot, like a ton of actors. I was like, how much money do these dairy farmers have that they can spend that kind of money? Like, it's crazy.
Yeah, that's wild. Yeah, I got a friend who is a DP, and his favorite thing is to do car commercials. For one, for money, obviously, and two is because everyone's really happy, he says, on those shoots because they always have so much money. Yeah. Everyone's always like, oh yeah, cool and chill, and it's never a problem.
And they're so brief, like you don't get worn down because it's. I miss that about working in commercials. I haven't worked in commercials in 5 years or more, but I miss that. 5 days you're on the side of a mountain shooting like a wilderness commercial or whatever. And then 5 days later, you're in a mansion somewhere, or you're in a sewer somewhere. Like it's always like completely different. Whereas a series TV show, you jump around different locations, but they're all kind of themed the same.
Right.
But commercials, you're like, like high school prom. Next one's like a hospital bed with like an old person in it. The next one's like, it's always something different.
Oh yeah, that's what drew me to film too. I'm sure. Well, everyone, it takes a certain type of person to be in film, and you have to be drawn to also that change. Every day's different. The longest is a couple days. We're in one place. You know,
that's the best thing about it. Like that's actually what makes it such a great job. You're not stuck in the same Denny's every morning at 4 a.m. You're just onto a new spot. It's in the forest, it's in the city, it's in a sewer, it's in a mental institute, wherever the hell it is. You're experiencing something new every single day, which makes it all the worthwhile for me. So
yeah.
And I think it attracts a certain type of person. I always say film attracts like two types of people, like artists and creative types who are like very interested in film and always have been, and people who just can't work 9-to-5 jobs. Like they just like are
the outcasts of society,
too crazy or something, or like their sleep schedule's too nuts or something.
Dude.
That they just like the thought of being in a cubicle is like you couldn't pay them enough money to do it. And I'm kind of like both of those. There's just no way I could do if I was getting twice what I was making to just type shit in a computer all day, I still couldn't do it. Like I'm just not cut out for it. And it's a great creative outlet as well.
Oh yeah, no, I know exactly what you're talking about, because I started out in background, and I did a lot of background just when I got into the industry, and there are some people in there that are the outcasts of society that they couldn't do a 9-to-5 job.
There's some real nutcases that you come across.
Love taking a shuttle with a bunch of background. It's like my favorite thing first in the morning. Oh, it's the best. The stories, I tell you.
Well, some backgrounds really nice people. Like you never know.
Absolutely, it's a wide cast net. Like you get all sorts of different people in the background there. It's yeah.
I think my favorite shuttle experience is when you close the door and then the Teamster turns around and it's all dudes, and they're like, oh sweet, now I can start saying some real misogynistic, like racist shit. Because there's like no women in the shuttle, which is like, it's insane how much that happens.
Yeah.
Clearly I'm being sarcastic about that. I don't want that taken the wrong way, but it is crazy.
Okay, well, I guess I got to wrap this up. This is a short interview because you guys are showing right now at the Rio. And
in the middle of a screening as we speak, 2 doors down.
Yeah.
You look pretty close.
Thank you very much for coming over and doing this. And hopefully in the future we can get each of you to do an interview on your own and get more detailed about your film career and what brought you to here. Yeah. Because I know you're both interesting and hardworking people that I totally admire, and I really, really loved that documentary.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, man.
Though that was really well done, and like I said, I laughed out loud, and that's not a usual thing. I'm a film person. If it sucks, I will pick apart the background and the location, then I'll be like, okay, and I'm rolling my eyes. I'm like you guys are, I'm sure, with TV or with movies. If it sucks, then you're Whatever.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. That's a good review.
Yeah, well, no problem. All right, well, take care, you guys, and I'll talk to you soon.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, man.
I wish those guys all the luck in the world. And yeah, like I said before, it's a great documentary, so you'll really enjoy it. Next week, I am joined by Jason Cox, who is the general manager of White's Location Equipment Services. And they are a company who rents out to the film industry and also does events, but the major stuff is the film industry, and he's been in it for a long time. He also does his own independent stuff, so it's a really good chat. So I will see you next week, and you guys have a good one. Take care.